Hi, everybody. Hey, Carol.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Look what I got.
Oh, wow, that was fast.
Yes.
I love Prime.
Actually, I got it at Best Buy.
Nice. Man, it sounds like you're right here in the room with us. I love it.
Okay, good.
Laura, do we have Laura? Is she on yet?
No, I guess not.
Give her a couple minutes here, guys. We just rolled into 9 o'clock.
You're in Florida.
I am in Florida. I literally just got in. We just had office hours in Sign and Thrive, and I drove for about an hour and found what I thought was a standalone Starbucks, but it's in the middle of a shopping mall, so it might be a little on the loud side. Striking out with my venues this morning. The first one was in the Target. All right, Laura. Laura, do we have you yet?
I'm sure she'll be here any minute.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we'll kind of I'll start the introduction. Guys, welcome to the... Oh, is that you?
That would be me.
Oh, there she is.
PC problems this morning.
Oh, I love it. You have a new background every time we chat. I love it. It keeps things fresh and exciting. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're ready to get started. Welcome to the... actually, I'm going to mute everybody because we got some feedback there. Sorry. So, Laura and Carol, you'll have to unmute yourself one more time here once I do that. There we go. All right. Welcome to the Tuesday, December 4th edition of the Breakfast Club with Carol Ray, Laura Biewer, and myself, Bill Soroka. We're real excited to bring today's session to you. We're introducing some new format changes slowly and gradually, and I'm real excited about where we're going. So today, we're going to be talking about the efficient stuff that you can be working on in your non-billable hours. And I love, Laura, you called it non-billable hours. So this is the stuff that you do when you're not being paid or not with a client, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, we're each going, the way this will work, guys, is you've got 3 seasoned pros here that are going to give you some perspective and advice that works for us each individually. We'll do just a real quick or short presentation or conversation about what works, and then we're going to open that up for questions and answers after each little segment. And then, of course, we have the regular general questions that we'll be answering as well. So anytime you have a question during this conversation today, you have 2 options. You can either, using the buttons, and they might be below your Zoom window, or they might be off to the right, depending on how you have.
During the downtime when you're not earning money. And I want everybody to know, because I see the postings on the forums all of the time where, oh, it's so slow. And, you know, it's bound to happen. This is a full-time thing that we do, this gig, and especially during certain times of the year, holiday times, things tend to slow down. So there are things that you can do that we wanted you to know about, that's going to help to build your business. Maybe not at the moment, but believe me, the things that you do now are going to pay off later on. So I have a few things that I wanted to talk about. And if you're a student of mine already, you know I've been teaching this so long, and I deal with so many students on a one-to-one basis that a lot of my advice is going to be what you've already heard. But the first thing that you do when you're brand new is, beside studying and learning about what you need to do, is to reach out with whatever resources you have. Let people know what you're doing. And those resources can be friends, family, work acquaintances if you work, church members, parents of your kids' friends. Anybody you come in contact with should know what your new endeavor is and what you're doing. It's important, because if you don't tell them, they won't know. There's also something that I really believe in. I'm really big on the social media. I think that if you belong to the right groups, uh, first of all, LinkedIn profile, I think once you really get going in this business, is important. Really shows a lot about who you are. You have an opportunity there to take, from signing companies that you work with. They'll post, good things about you, reviews and things that are important. Facebook, I have found, has been extremely important for me, because I see the interaction between people, and for the most part, it's very positive. I think at least the groups that I'm in, we make sure as administrators that we don't have people that are bashing other people, negative, and it does happen. So you want to belong to the right groups, and if you do have a problem with something or someone, report it to the administrators. So we have a group of different groups that I belong to, and I thought if you'd like to write these down, I'll give you a few of the names. I'm the administrator and have founded a couple of them. One is called Notary Professionals. Can everybody hear me okay on my new microphone? Okay? Yes?
Yep.
Okay, just make sure. Okay, so Notary Professionals, and then I do have a group that's just for my graduates and no one else. But there's also a couple of other good groups. One is called Notaries and Signing Agent Network. Another one is Quick Find Notaries, and another one is Professional Notaries Network. And some of them will ask you your commission, make sure that you are a notary. But these are some really good forums for interesting conversations. I do want you to know, when you start to join some of these groups, it's really important. There is a search button. And a lot of the things that you're going to be asking have already been discussed. And there's a wealth of information that you can get into. So do spend some time on places like Facebook. It can really enhance your attitude, your business, give you lots of good ideas. If those of you who might be doing the general notary work along with the notary signing agent work, one of the things that I always suggest to my students, first of all, general notary work can be very lucrative, and it does allow, and I think, Laura, you'll touch on this, right? Won't you, the general notary work? Because she's an expert at it. I'm not. Honestly, I never did general notary work. I've just done NSA work. I did it for 14 years, and that's what I know best. But one of the things that I do suggest is that you get magnetic. Why am I seeing a green telephone in the middle of my screen?
It's dropped.
Huh?
It's dropped off.
Oh, did I drop off?
It was there. It's recording.
Oh, okay. So anyway, one of the things that I suggest to people, first of all, especially if you live in a small area, hit every single shop in your little town. Go to the barbershop, the nail place, the banks, everything that is there, and always have a bunch of magnetic cards. Nobody throws out magnetic cards. You can walk into 20 places and hand them a business card, and 19 of those are going to end up in the file 13. But you give them a magnetic card, they're going to stick it someplace because nobody throws them out. I was talking to a student not long ago, and I was talking on the phone with her and, giving her some mentoring. And I told her that. I said, nobody ever throws those out. She happened to be standing next to her refrigerator, and she said, oh my gosh, you're right. I had an appointment with the doctor on November the 4th, 2014. And so I thought that's a perfect example, because we don't throw them out. What use we think they have, I don't know. But I think that's really important. Now, when it's slow, and it is at times, it's bound to be, there are times when it's just going to be slow. You need to do things, and that's to reach out to companies. Now, I'm going to talk about a list that we have because that's what I'm familiar with, but I want you to know that this list that I have for my students was built over years. It's not just a list I went in and I wrote down names. This is a list that was developed over years because these were people, companies that were great companies that I developed a relationship with. And over those years, they got to respect my students, and they're very, very open to having my graduates call. If you are not a graduate, that's fine. You can still develop your own list, and I think Laura might talk about that a little bit too. And but it's important to know that when you are given, or if you come up with a list of really good companies, you got to do your research. There's a good place, Notary Rotary is a good place to go. They have Signing Central. You can go in and you can search for a particular company, see how many stars they have, read comments. Now, if they have just one or two comments that are negative, within 6 months or something, don't worry about it. There's always somebody that's going to complain. But if you see that all of a sudden they were a really good company, a 4-star or 5-star company, and now they're a 3-star company, and you start seeing these negative comments coming more and more often, like they're not paying on time, they are not paying enough, all of these kinds of things, you really need to spend your time weeding out companies and making sure that you have a list that really appreciates and respects you as a notary signing agent. So what I tell my graduates, because once they do graduate, they do have access to this list that we have, which is of 123 companies. We're always monitoring that list. About every 2 months, we go through it. We're heartbroken when we have to take somebody off our list that I've been working with for years, but because of circumstances, they are not operating the way that they were, and they've lost stars. But you've got to call people, and you don't just call them once and say, oh, I want to be on your database. You call them, you tell them who you are, where you're located. And even if you do not have one signing that you've done, it doesn't matter. Do not ever lie. Don't ever exaggerate. There's people out there that are telling students, yes, you can fudge a little bit. Tell them you've done 500 signs. Listen, you're going to get caught and then you'll never get work. Be honest with them, but tell them, I love working with people. I'm a graduate from I worked with Laura, with Bill, with Carol, and let them know who you are, that you really love the work, that you're anxious to get going, and you feel that you're going to just be a really good notary signing agent. Then don't get let go. Call back in a few days and tell them who you are, where you're located. That's important, always where you're located, because if a signing comes up in your area, you want that memory. You want them to remember who you are. And remind them that you called a few days ago, you spoke to so-and-so or whatever. And if you can talk to the same person, that's great. If you can write down every time you call somebody who you talk to, and if you're able to talk to them again, that's the beginning of a relationship. So you call them up and say, I just want to make sure, I know how busy you guys are, want to make sure that I got onto your database. And if they tell you, oh no, somebody, they didn't do it, then say, I really, really want to work with you guys. I think you're a great company. Laura, Carol says great things about you. And that's what I tell my students, because these are wonderful companies. And they hire our graduates like right away, no experience or anything. And so I want them to know how much I appreciate them. And the only way that I can really let them know that is, other than speaking to the owners or whatever, is for my graduates to say, I'm so excited to work for your company because Carol says great things about you guys, and I'm anxious. And then call back, 30 seconds, 40 seconds on the phone. Call a week later. I always tell everybody, I've never been a nag in my personal life. My husband, he's sitting here. We've been married 55 years, and usually I have a really good one, so he usually gets up and does whatever I ask him to do because he knows he might forget. But I've never had to be a nag in my personal life But boy, in my business life, especially when I was running a couple of escrow companies, I was a nag. Things got done. And that's the way you have to run your business. You can do it very gently, very kindly. Laura, you look like you want to say something.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it's really important. So that is the beginning of building the relationship. You might go 3 months without hearing from them. Call them anyway. Oh, it's been a couple months, or it's been a month since we talked, and how are you doing? You don't have to waste their time. It doesn't take long to make that connection with these people. And I think that's about all that there is a couple of things. Yeah. First of all, this is one of my pet peeves. And if any of you have seen our video, which now I think has like 90,000 hits on YouTube, demonstration of a video, one of the things that's absolutely true is me answering the phone in my shower. Thank goodness my daughter got into the shower and it's her hand that you see. But I have years, when I was doing the work, there's a towel rack outside of the shower, and I always put a nice fluffy towel there so that I could rest my cell phone on it. And I have been known to answer that phone with shampoo in my eyes and personal. But you have to decide. People say, no, it's rude. I did it for years, and I never had a problem. What I did during the signing process at the very beginning, I would show them my cell phone, and I would say, this is my lifeline to earning an income. And this is where I get phone calls. I want to ask you in advance and apologize in advance if I do get a call and I know that it's a company that needs my services, then I'll answer if it's all right with you, but I won't take more than about 45 seconds to a minute. All I need to do is what and where and be able to say yes or no. That's it. And do you know, they say, yes, of course. People understand when you're trying to make a living and earn money that if you turn down one phone call, that could be $100, $150 that you've just blown, or a brand new client. So to me, it's really important wherever you are. I get so upset when I call one of my students or graduates and I get, your mailbox is full. You can't leave a message. The mailbox is full. Never do that. Don't do that. Make yourself accessible, because you have no idea what you're missing if you don't. And I think that's about it.
Awesome. Well, that was really great and specific stuff, Carol. I love that. And I think, you and I have talked a lot about the phone call philosophies a lot in the past, but I think the way that you do it, and you set expectation in the very beginning, and you earn that permission in the very beginning, goes a lot further than just answering the call whenever it rings in the signing. So that's awesome. I love that tip. Very cool. So let's open it up to questions for Carol. I know we've got some coming into the chat window, and Laura is monitoring that for us. Laura, anything specifically that Carol could answer right now based on her presentation?
The first question, Carol, was could you rename those Facebook groups?
Oh, sure.
You
I'd be
went by
happy
kind
to.
of fast. And if you could repeat them.
Sure. My group that I put together, we have about 2,800 members. It's not very old, but they're wonderful people. It's Notary Professionals. You have to search for a group, and it is all caps. I don't know if that helps or not. And if not, let me give you my email address. It's notary2pro@gmail.com. If anybody is interested, I'll be happy to respond to an email and give you the link to it. That's one of them. Another really good one is actually run by a graduate of mine from years ago. It's called Notaries and Signing Agent Network. And there's over 5,000 people on that network. And it's very good, very informative. Then there's Quick Find Notaries / Signing Agents Directory. Quick Find Notaries / Signing Agents Directory. and one other is Professional Notaries Network.
All right, awesome. I'm just typing those into the chat window for you guys if it's helpful.
Oh, one other thing. Can I mention this? Because we're just starting to get this out. In fact, you and I, Bill, we need to talk about this. Notary to Pro has gone Spanish. For those of you who don't know, I am so excited about this because I've always felt that people whose native language they grew up with, any foreign language, but especially here in the United States, Spanish is very important. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought that would be such a wonderful advantage for people whose native language is Spanish to create a Notary to Pro course in Spanish. So I do have a Facebook group also called Notary to Pro Spanish, which is very tiny right now.
Yeah, awesome. I love that you're doing that too. I think that's going to be such a help for people. And I do actually have a couple of leads for you from my YouTube channel.
Oh, good.
Laura, what else we got?
You know, nobody else has posted another question for Carol yet, but they may come along as we move on in the call.
They're either bored or I did a really good job.
We're going to go with the latter.
Really good job.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, thank you again for that. I think that I love the idea of the magnetic cards too. I think I'm going to dive into that myself. Laura, I know you have awesome topics today as well.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to. I'm happy to share them.
Great.
Mine focuses on two things. One is, what did I do this year? Evaluation of 2018, for instance. What's working? So that's going to mean evaluate information that you have. And of course, during the year, if you track information, it'll make it easier for you to do this process. If not, then this is the year for you to figure out what you want to track for next year. So for instance, I'm going to be looking at all of the assignments I got and what were notary signing agent work, what was facility work, what was trust work, what was the one-off hospital stuff that I did, what were the most common documents I handled. And I start taking a look at where the money's coming from in terms of type of job. And then the other thing that I look at is, what were the profitable jobs? Because the bottom line is you may be getting so much revenue, but your net, what you kept is really important. So if you're doing a lot of work, but you're not making a lot of money at it, that may not be a stream of revenue that you want to continue, or you need to find a better way to make it more productive for you. The other thing is that I take a look at all of the things that I've been doing to get the work. So for instance, I know that Carol talked about Facebook groups, and that isn't always about getting the work. That's really about staying on top of what's going on. But the groups I'm talking about would be 123 Notary and Notary Cafe and Notary Rotary and signingagent.com. Those are other online groups that we pay to be a part of. And are they helping us get jobs? Because we're paying for those listings, number one. Number two is, if it's not doing a good job for us yet, and they're all good registries, then maybe we need to take a look at our profile. Do we have a good profile? Did we update that profile? Do I have more experience now than I had last year? Maybe I need to change that number. I have another year of experience. I need to change that number. Perhaps I've developed a new specialty. I need to add that so that you have the most current, and then make sure you go to the other registries and copy it over so that they all say the same thing about you and there's a consistent message for you. The other thing that we do to get jobs, of course, is we belong to networking groups. It might be the chamber. It might be the Better Business Bureau. It might be Red Star Referral. It might be BNI. It might be the NNA. And they all have membership fees to belong. So we need to evaluate, what am I getting for that money? And maybe I can't afford to belong to all of them. Maybe I need to decide which one is actually the best in this particular year. And I change around. Some years I'm part of the chamber. Some years I'm not. I will skip around depending on my budget because I can't always belong to everything at the same time. And then I take a look at unpaid work. who didn't pay me? Because you know what? One, I need to do something about getting that money. And two, I have a white glove test. And the white glove test is you're fired. If you don't pay me, I fire them. So I don't want to work with them in 2019. It's important for us to stay on top of that. Also, it's time to refresh my bag. Do I have all my certificates in there? Is there any other new tools? Did I lose a clipboard at the hospital? Now I don't have a clipboard in my bag anymore. Go back through my bag and make sure I have everything I need for a nice fresh start in 2019. Also, I look at what systems am I using to help me make these kinds of decisions. So many of you may use Notary Assist. I use Notary Assist. And because I identify the type of work it is, it's very easy for me to run a report and say, oh, here's where 25% of my work is coming from. It's not that difficult because I use a system to help me track it. Some of you may use a spreadsheet. If you're starting out, that's fine. Notary Assist does have reports. There's other ones out there as well. I can't speak to them because I don't use them. I happen to use the one I like. But in any case, develop a system so that you have an idea of what's coming to you and where it's coming from. The other thing that I would take a look at is managing my passwords. Oh my gosh, the year before I was always having problems. Every time I logged in, I don't know what my password is. So I had to have a system. So I had all my passwords organized with the correct logins, all of that, because I must have 30, 40 different accounts. And I needed a way to keep track of those. And if I updated them, I updated it in my password book. So I knew exactly what I was doing. Now, some people use an online system for that. As a matter of fact, I have as well. I do have one as well. And then I have a backup in case I'm out somewhere and I need a quick way to take a look.
Hey, Laura, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Which electronic platform did you ultimately choose for managing your password?
I use, it's got the big red button. What's that called? LastPass.
LastPass. Okay, awesome.
LastPass. Right. And it works pretty good. It does. I definitely like that. The other thing I look back is my equipment still appropriate for me? So if I'm still using the first printer that I ever purchased, and I could barely afford the printer, so I really didn't get something that great, is it still doing the job? Is it servicing me? It might be that I need to put in a budget for a newer printer in 2019 that will do the job for me, which means I may have to budget for it if I don't have the money right now, and then keep the other printer as my backup. Don't wait till your printer doesn't work and you're ready to go to a job and it's like, oh my God, I won't pull the right paper, it's not printing right, it's not just change the toner, there's a bigger problem. So always be prepared, have some redundancies as you can afford to do so. And I do that to make sure that I always have. I have 3 printers. I'm not obsessive. I just want to make sure that I always have a printer that works. And one printer has color. I use that for different purposes, and faxing and scanning. It's an all-in-one. I don't use that for my workhorse. My workhorse is a different black and white dual trade. That's all it does. Big volume. It's fast. And that's what you need. So if you haven't been looking at your equipment and see if it services you well. The other thing is if you're not on a laptop, you just have a desktop, that may be a tablet or a laptop, may be something that will serve you in 19 as things change, as we do more things electronically. And so those are the kinds of things that I look at from 2018 perspective, so that I can decide, do I need to change that? Was it serving me well? Do I need a different approach? And I have a lot of data that I've collected through the year to help me make those kinds of decisions. And then once I'm done evaluating that, I look at 2019 and I think about, how do I increase my revenue? Because of course, we all want to do that. And there's ways to do that. Of course, you could just increase your price. That may or may not always work. You know, I know there's a lot of issues with just getting the price that we want in the first place. However, that might be one of the ways. For instance, in my general work, there's room for me to do that. I might have to get more efficient for the price that I'm getting so that my margin's better. I might need to add a day of work that I normally don't want to work. I work Sundays. I am on Sundays. And the reason I get so much work on a Sunday is nobody else wants to answer their phone on Sunday. They've worked all week. They're tired. They want to be with their families. I pick a different day, and I make myself available on Sundays, and I do get a lot of work on that day. I get rid of all those no-pay, slow-pay jobs that are hitting my cash flow, and I just don't work for them anymore. And it frees up my time to do other work that's going to be more valuable. Add another specialty you don't have today. So if you're not doing general work, pick something, and perhaps that will be helpful to you. And that might add to your revenue. If you're not doing hospital work, maybe that's something you want to look at for 2019. Or if you're not doing trust work or jail work, you don't have to do everything. Just pick one thing to add to your menu of services. Maybe apostille work, that might be it, or life scan. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick one thing to do you aren't doing now. The other thing that I do is I initiate a buddy system. Now, I'm really big about meetups, you know that, and I'm very big about networking and working with other notaries. It doesn't have to be a group of 50. I started with 3. Okay, now I do have a group of 50, but I started with 3. And how does that increase my income? Because when one of my colleagues, notary colleagues, can't do a job, they're sending that work to me. And when I can't do a job, I'm not available, I'm sending that work to them. So that job isn't lost. It wasn't my job anyways. I had to say no. So let me have one of my colleagues get it. And then I get work later. And sometimes I get the work because it was more complicated, because of other reasons that they thought, you know what, Laura should probably handle this. So I continue to increase my revenue because I'm willing to share my work with other notaries. And not just share my work, but share tips, because you can get more efficient. You can have some better marketing. You might even be able to share costs in some areas. So there's lots of things we can do to share the burden and share the load. And that can also increase your revenue. And then add a skill that makes you more valuable than you are today. Maybe it's picking up a second language. I chose to start doing Spanish signing, not in loan signings, but general signings. I speak Spanish. It was enough to get by, and I decided to take an online class. I did Babbel, and I just started improving so that I felt more comfortable taking a little bit bigger job. And of course, those were jobs I didn't have to turn down. Otherwise, I was referring them out. And then the other thing is increase your visibility in terms of your community. So I of course, do the things that Bill's going to talk about online, but I'm involved in community events. I'm involved in advertising in church, synagogue newsletters. I'm involved in senior health fairs, so that I'm out there and people see me in a giving mode, not just in a I want you to hire me mode. And that helps add another dimension to my business and to me personally, and to my own personal brand. And then finally, investigate what's new. What are the new trends? What do you need to know that you don't know yet? Do you know about e-signings? Have you read the articles? Have you attended any kind of class that's available? Do you have a laptop or the technology if you even wanted to do it? Do you have an e-seal? And if you're in California, if you're in a state, and most of the states have e-seal going on. It's the remote that aren't very many states. But I think 49 out of 50 can do electronic signing, and there are different rules for each state. Plan to attend networking. Plan to be a part of seminars if they're offered, regional events. We just had a notary symposium in Northern California, which was fabulous. 100 notaries all together with speakers learning about how to have a better business. Look at a national conference. Look at conferences outside of our business specifically, meaning it's not a notary conference. Maybe it's a real estate conference, and it's the trade show where all the title companies are, right? The exhibition part. So those are things we can get ourselves into. Think about joining a group that has other kinds of expertise in it other than what we do, because you never know how that crosses and can add value to us and give you other people to make you more of a connector. That's another big thing for me is I'm not a paralegal, but I know paralegals, and I send work to them. And so, yeah, the work went to them this time, but of course they send work my way. And of course the client comes back to me when they need notarization because I helped them the first time, even if I couldn't provide the service they needed. And do I have one more? Oh, and then the last thing is, this phrase really struck me. You are what you do. So I want you to think about that. You are what you do. If you do lowball jobs, then that's what you're going to attract. You'll just attract more of those because they know you'll do them. If you do higher end, if you diversify, if you are more than about just getting hired, you're also about giving, then that's what you attract. And you will attract other like-minded people to join you in that. And I think all of these things, oh, and the very last thing is prioritize. I must have given you 20 things. You might not be able to do all 20, but you know what you can do? You can pick 3. Just pick 3 to start with, and your 2019 will be better. That's it.
That's fantastic, Laura. Awesome. Amazing tips there. And I know we have lots of questions, actually, so if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to skip the ones on the fees, guys. If you have a question about how anything costs, rather than have us tell you what the cost was when we got it, I'm just going to recommend that you go to their website and look it up for Notary Assist, for LastPass, get that research on your own, do your due diligence, and make sure you can get that. The first question I saw here, this is interesting from Melissa. She said, are there any general notary work companies that we can sign up for that you're aware of?
Okay, so it doesn't work exactly the same as NSA, but I will tell you, I get general work through 123 Notary all the time. Of all the registries I belong to, that one tends to get, he does a great job of his advertising. All right, so we won't talk about Jeremy, but let's talk about his website. His website works, and that's what matters to me. And so my investment in his website brings me general work. There are not signing companies per se, specifically for general work. They may occasionally get something that looks like that, but that's not the norm. Really, it's a different kind of marketing where you have to go out and meet people and actively participate in building those relationships.
Excellent. What is an apostille?
So apostille is where a document is most likely going to a foreign country, and that foreign country will need to verify that you are a valid notary in your state. And so typically it is the Secretary of State's office, excuse me, or whoever runs the notary office in your state. And they issue a certificate that says, yes, this is a valid notary in our state, and this is a valid notarization. So there are 2 things they're checking. They're checking that you are valid, and they're checking the notarization you performed. Apostille work, some people, the signers can do it for themselves. They can go to that office, they can pay the fee, and they can get that certificate handled. There are companies out there that's what they do. They facilitate apostille work. And by the way, apostille looks like apostille, but it's a French word, so we just don't pronounce that ending. And of particular interest, if you want to know more about that, I recommend you go to the merchants page on Notary to Pro, because Naz Stieber, who was at the symposium as well, that's what she does. She's a notary, and she facilitates apostille work. She lives in Sacramento, and she walks them through for people. Same day service. And she sends pictures. She's also a notary, so she knows what a bad notarization would look like and prevent it from hitting the table at the Secretary of State's office, because you don't want your work hitting the table and having a problem with it. So that's who I recommend you talk to about the details of adding that to your menu of services. But very lucrative. It's on my menu of service, and I'm just a facilitation person. I send it off to Naz. I charge a small fee to get it to her for my part, and she does the rest.
Awesome. What about a trust signing?
So a trust signing, I'm talking about living trusts, estate planning documents. So there are a couple different ways you can get those. One is the consumer, and if it's the consumer getting you directly, they probably found your website, or they found you Googling, and it's you've got it listed on your registry that you do trust signings. The other way that you get it is through attorneys working with attorney offices directly, who, whether or not they're a notary, they may not want to sit and be the notary. They want to be the attorney at the signing. It shortens their time. They can focus on what they're doing. And the third way to get it is to work for legal plan companies. And I do all three of these. And so I get a lot of trust work. Probably, I'd say 40% of my jobs are living trust jobs. And they are very profitable. I don't have to print anything. I just show up with the book, or the book's already there for me, and I work through the job. The table time is about the same, but the profitability level is much better because there's almost no cost. It's my travel and my time.
Yeah.
So I love doing that.
The last wills and testaments and medical directives, which are usually part of that family planning package, guys. If you can get a relationship with family or estate lawyers, it's ideal. Right. The way this works, guys, is the lawyer will prep everything and give them sometimes duplicate, triplicate. I've even had quadruplicate appointments where the lawyers just are over, they're OCD. They want that many original copies of everything. And with witness signatures and all of that, that adds up. Some of these appointments can be worth anywhere from $200 to $400 for an hour's worth of work. So they're very, very lucrative, depending on your state, of course.
Right.
Yep. California, they have a huge benefit. They get the highest fee. Well, I guess not even technically. On the books, the highest fee, right? But you get states like Tennessee where you can charge anything you want, too. So states with lots of flexibility.
Right. So,
and there, just like Laura said, there's really great ways to target that. 3 main targets. And I love that you touched on all 3 of those. The other question here. I heard you mention hospital. How could I go about doing work at hospitals if I'm just starting out?
So hospital work is going to happen one of 2 ways. It's going to happen accidentally. You're going to get a call because somebody Googled and they found you, and they happen to be in a hospital, and they're going to ask if you'll come to them at the hospital. If you don't want to rely on haphazardly getting jobs that way, then you want to actively pursue them. And in actively pursuing them, that means you're going to need to go to the hospital. You need to find out more about that hospital. Are they a specialty hospital? What kind of patients do they have there? You're going to want to know more about when's it a bad time to show up there. You're going to want to know what kinds of things, do they have rules of the house there? That if a notary's coming there, do they want you to sign in? I think the more that you know about that hospital, and the more you demonstrate to them your interest in serving their clients in a way that's transparent for that hospital so that they look good, they're the heroes. Those are the notaries, at least that will be promoted through the hospital side, not that accidentally they found you. And even on the list, sometimes they'll say, we can't just say, go you. They'll say, well, here's 3 notaries. I have to tell you, because I have several hospitals that I work that are that way, I'm always on the 3, always. And when the patients say, well, gosh, I don't know, which one should I start with? They'll say something like, well, we see this one here quite a bit. And of course, the other reason that I get called on that list is because I answer my phone. And that would be the other reason. A lot of times people will say, I didn't call you first, but gosh, you answered the phone. So that's just it takes a lot. Actually, I teach a whole class about doing hospital work, but that can at least get you started in the right direction.
Yeah, huge. And then anytime, Laura, would you agree when you are at a hospital appointment, somebody calls you for however they find you, is to use that also as a marketing and relationship building opportunity as you're leaving or when you
Right, signing in. And that's why I love, even if they don't say you need to sign in, I always stop there. I'm here to see so-and-so today. Anything I should know? Is anything, that would prevent me to notarize a document? They love that I check in first. And then when I come back out, hey, everything went great. Thank you very much. Also, when the nurses come in to do vitals, you know what? It's 2 minutes. I stop and say, you know what? Why don't I just step over here? Go ahead and take care of that. I know you have other patients to get to. Let's let you take care of that, and then we'll move on. Maybe I'll go work on my journal while they're doing that. I try to be very accommodating to those nurses because they are, one step from a job for me.
All right, fantastic. I think, oh, Kelly asked, is there going to be a training for this type of general notary work for estate and financial trainings?
So I do provide training on trust and facility work. And if you go to my website, you will see that it is, you will see that I have estate planning training, and I also have facility training there, and you can see more information about it.
Excellent. Laura, thank you so much. That was awesome. I think we got through most of the major questions.
Great.
All right, thank you. So guys,
Bill, we need to hear from you.
I apologize if there's some background noise here. Like I said, I'm in a loud venue, so I'm going to keep mine nice and short and sweet. And it's really, oh, Laura, what's your website? You want to type that into the chat window for people?
Sure.
So what I want to talk about really rides on the coattails of what Carol and Laura said. And what really stood out for me in marketing, you know how I know we all have them. We have that friend or that family member that you never hear from until they need something from you. They need money. They need help moving. They need to borrow something. When we're in business, we don't want to be that guy. And a really good example of that is this. I brought these all the way from my house as one example. What you're seeing here is one day in the mailbox right before the election back in, well, it was late October, early November when it was. These are people that I never hear from ever until they want something from me. It's my vote. So whenever you're following Carol's advice, Laura's advice, or my advice, when you're out there, keep in mind that you don't want to be only reaching out to people when you're desperate and you need business. So one of my favorite quotes is, what you do in the dark when nobody else is watching puts you in the light. So this type of communication, staying in touch with people throughout the year, even when you don't necessarily need something. I mean, we all want the business, but we're not just reaching out only to solicit business. We're reaching out to add value. We're reaching out to check in because we care about people. We're finding, with technology today, using LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, you have access to so much information about people. And not personal stuff that they're not sharing, but you get their promotions, their charity work, the teams they play on, the schools they went to. You have access to all of this, and you can find ways to connect. And you need to schedule that connection. And it's also known as follow-up, right? And I say it all the time, the fortune is in the follow-up, because you're going to need to tickle or touch these people at least 7 to 10 times before they start to trust you. You're a face that's going to hang around. You're committed to your business. People want to work with people who are committed to their business. So if you think one email, 2 emails, or office stops or phone calls are going to do the trick, you're going to be disappointed in this business. You have to stay on top of it. You have to do what nobody else is doing, what other people aren't going to do. And people are going to give up after 2 or 3 times when they don't get return phone calls, or if they're not getting the response that they want. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing forward on that. That's when the magic really starts to happen. When you do that too, rather than standing up with a bullhorn talking about how great your business is and how flexible your schedule is and how you're a real 24/7 and you've got all this training, keep in mind that everybody is saying the same thing. So you've got to find a way to cut through the clutter of those conversations. And the best way to do that is, rather than talk only about you and your services, is to let them talk about them or talk about them. Congratulate people. Spend a little time on the front end researching these guys. We have amazing tools at our disposal, and one sentence can change everything. It can say, hey, congratulations on your promotion, or thank you for the work you did with this charity organization. It's close to my heart because of this. I guarantee you it's close to their heart for a reason too, and that gives you a way to connect on levels that nobody else is going to do. So, but whatever you decide to do with that, whatever value, whatever pops into your head, make sure that you come from an authentic place when you're talking about it. You don't want to fake any of this. There is no reason to fake or mislead people whenever you're, especially in the beginning when you're laying the foundations for your business. Show up in your business as you. Let your personality come out a little bit, and that authenticity is what builds these relationships. This is not just business. This is my business self, so I'm going to pretend to be this, and then over here is something totally different. We get a beautiful opportunity to blend the two. Let your personality come through your business, connect authentically with them. These clients can be friends for you. Most of my clients do turn into friends, whether I wanted to or not. You know, it's just the way it goes whenever you show up that way. That is the short and sweet version of what I had to offer today. Any questions on that?
Hey, Bill, this is Carol.
Hey.
And I want to say a couple of things if it's all right.
Of course.
Well, I just want to remind somebody here that I reached out to someone who I didn't know anything about, and he kind of got me curious. Was he really a good guy or what? And look what it led to.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I'm so glad that you did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you're a good guy.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention that Laura does have her side business really is training. And so check out her website because she's amazing. We have her as a merchant on our graduates website, which is a place that we have people who teach other things. I'm sort of stuck in my job of mentoring and teaching, and she's just a wealth of information and resources, as are you, Bill. So I'm really proud to be working.
Much, Carol. I had to unmute myself so I was saying
oh, okay.
when you couldn't hear me. I unmuted myself. And thanks for that plug and shout out. I appreciate it. And I'm very happy and excited to help notaries just make their business have a more solid foundation and be able to weather what's going on around them. You know, and if all you do is real estate related work, real estate's volatile, real estate changes, real estate can go away. And for those of us who were doing it back in the early 2000s, remember when 2008 hit? You didn't have anything else in your basket. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're adding so many things to the graduates website that people can do. I'm really excited about 2019 because we're going to have amazing instructors, amazing opportunities from everything from weddings to trusts to apostille work, all kinds of stuff. And everybody needs to know that they have to diversify.
Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad that you guys. Oh, yep. Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah, this is Julie. I'm a student of yours, Bill. I have a question, and I'm sorry if I'm a little late on this. Could you refer for, I think, Laura? Is it Laura? Thank you.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah,
I think she wants your website.
Oh, I did put it in there. I can put it again. It's at yourservicemobilenotary.com.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm on just call. I can't.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Hey, and then there are several pages. You want the For Notaries page.
Now, guys.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you got some pretty amazing tips, great knowledge from amazing professionals and teachers in this industry. And knowledge is really only half the battle. And I know anybody who reaches a certain level of success learns that probably the hard way first, is that we can read books, we can get coaching, we can take as many courses and seminars and workshops as time and money will allow, but unless you implement what you learn, none of it is going to matter. So that's where taking control of your day and scheduling the stuff that matters. And this stuff matters. The stuff that you do in the dark, guys, is where the power of your business is going to come in. And Laura and Carol and I were talking over the weekend. If you're doing 12 signings a day, you're thinking that you're doing really good. You know, you're so busy, you're making tons of money, you're just hustling. But that does not give you the time to do this kind of stuff that we're talking about. The behind the scenes, the cultivating relationships that's going to sustain you when that client or when those clients go away. So you've got to schedule this. You've got to find a way to build it into your day. Wake up an hour early, stay up an hour later, whatever it takes to get this stuff implemented and done every single day. If you don't do it every day, if you only do it when you need it, that desperation is going to come through, and it's too late at that point, because you're already going to be in a lull, because all of this stuff takes time to get the momentum going. So you'll always want to be working it. All right, awesome, guys. Anything else that we can talk about or share, answer any other questions? We're right at the 9:55, or I'm sorry, I don't know what time it is. 11:55 here, I think. We got a question down there from Teresa. Says, I'd like to ask, what is the general feeling about collecting escrow officer names and addresses off of documents you received from third party? Oh, I'm so glad that you're asking this, Teresa, because this was one of the questions that you had submitted to me. So what's the general feeling about collecting their escrow officer names and their contact information from documents that you have received from third party signing companies? And we've had the opportunity to talk about this a little bit. This is, if your intent is to steal that customer from that third-party signing customer, that is poaching. That is outside of integrity. That I would recommend you not do ever, because if you do, it's not only bad karma, but you can get blacklisted from signing companies real quick when they learn that you're poaching customers. Now, if you just want to stay, I mean, would you guys agree, Carol, Laura?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's
a no-no.
Yeah, plenty of ways that you can build your own relationships. Don't take the easy road on that one. Now, if you are looking just for ways to show appreciation and authentic, genuine gratitude, that's a total different story. But you want to tread carefully even in those situations, because perception is reality. If it's perceived that you are trying to poach a client, they're just going to cut you off. You probably never even hear about it, but they'll just cut you off. So you just got to be really careful in those situations. Oh, and then let's address this, guys. I apologize. We had lots of technical problems last week. Among them, the call did not record, so we do not have that to share or post. This one is recording. I've been confirming that throughout the call, so we are good to go. I will get this posted after the Fort Lauderdale Notary meetup that we're doing here that starts in about 3 minutes. In a few hours, I'll get this posted to my YouTube, and I'll send this out to Carol and Laura so they can post it to their YouTubes as well. If you're looking for some of the past episodes right now, I know they're all posted on my YouTube channel. And I think Carol, if she hasn't already, probably is loading those soon, right?
Yeah, we have them on the notary2pro.com website on the homepage.
Awesome. All right, guys, that brings us right up to the 10 o'clock. Laura, Carol, thank you so much for spending your valuable time and amazing resources and knowledge with us. I know we all appreciate it. Guys that have joined the call, thank you for your contributions, for those who did. And also, thanks for taking time out of your Tuesday to grow yourself and your business. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Yeah.